The way we develop this course is very hands-on, so we'll have a didactic module followed immediately by a practical exercise for what we just taught. In most cases, most crime scene investigators or deputy coroners or medical examiner coroner personnel do not have any hazardous materials training. We'll teach them about utilizing the various monitors, meters, and tests, and then we go do it with the actual instruments, and they get hands-on time working with the instruments and performing those tasks. Wednesday is all-day forensics. We take the conventional forensic evidence that can be found at any conventional crime scene, and now we throw that same evidence into a contaminated environment, and we have our students practice collecting DNA evidence, hair and fiber evidence, casting footwear impressions, latent fingerprint evidence, collecting trace transfer evidence with self-contained breathing apparatus, chemical protective clothing, boots and gloves, and doing all of the conventional forensics in this non-conventional environment. Then we teach them how to don the suits following a specific order, series of gloves, and then following that, the self-contained breathing apparatus itself. So we tested it and made sure that it was all working before we went and conducted our exercise. So one of the scenarios, we have teams of 2 enter into a hazardous environment in order to collect whole wet blood. They're going to also swab a dried blood stain from a tile and package it. In the trace transfer evidence station, we have the students collect soil sample that had been contaminated with a biological warfare agent. So they're taught the proper collection tools to utilize, how to collect that soil sample, and then how to package that soil sample as to provide the lab the best opportunity for analysis of the substances. On the fingerprint component, we have conventional fingerprint powders and brushes for them to develop a latent fingerprint on a surface with the brush and the powder, then lift that fingerprint off that surface and transfer it to a fingerprint card, and then package that fingerprint card in such a manner as to allow it to survive going through the decontamination process. In the hairs and fibers section, we have the students in their PPE utilize the alternate light source to locate foreign hairs and fibers from carpet sections. Once they've located it, then they're taught how to document it and then get it ready for decontamination. We have a footwear impression section. One exercise is to lift a dust footwear impression and to cast a 3-dimensional footwear impression utilizing a dent stone. A lot of the aspect of this training deals with the differences between a conventional crime scene and a contaminated crime scene. In the conventional crime scene, you may have only one level of packaging. In a non-conventional crime scene with contaminated environments containing chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive materials, at a minimum we require 2 levels of packaging. So we have a primary package containing the evidence, and then that primary package gets placed in a secondary package so that we can survive through the decontamination process and safely transport these hazardous materials to the appropriate laboratories. Well, Thursday was all about what we call CBRNE production, chem, bio, rad, nuke, explosive productions, and specifically we're dealing with clandestine laboratories that are producing these agents. So first we teach the students on laboratory recognition and how to identify the labs and what they're making by their precursors, the labware that's present, any laboratory notes that may be there, and final product and waste products. And then we walk them through 3 labs. One lab is set up to make TATP explosives. One lab is set up to make ricin, the toxin. And one lab is set up to make mustard, the blister agent. And then ask them to identify what's being made in this lab. We also then ask them, okay, what are the hazards to you as the crime scene investigator when you enter this environment? What is dangerous to you? What do you need to protect yourself from? And then we also teach them how to process those labs, where to begin and where to end in crime scene investigations of those laboratories. our students, 20 students, have been broken down into 2 teams of 10. Each team has been given a different crime scene to process. Right now, one team has just come out of the hot zone from doing a reconnaissance mission and classifying the evidence that's been located there. And they will then brief the evidence collection team, who will then build their evidence collection kits and go downrange and collect what the reconnaissance team has just found. After the reconnaissance do their mission, they will come out, drop off all of their equipment and debris at a drop table for decontamination and disposal. Then they'll go off to a technical decon and they will be decontaminated and taken out of their personal protective equipment. Once they complete that, they have to get medically monitored, have their blood pressure and pulse taken. Once that's all completed, they'll go back to the command and brief the team on what occurred down there, show them their photographs in detail and their sketch and their readings and so forth, and then assist with the evidence collection team building of their evidence collection kits. Even if they don't have an unconventional crime scene involving weapons of mass destruction, they may have suicides involving toxic industrial chemicals. They should be able to more confidently enter those environments and process those scenes now having had this training.